gives you a closer look at the events that happened around Maine this week.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Cindy Campbell. Today we're talking with Dan Cashman, co-founder of a nonprofit called Dirigo Reads, which is placing free books in the hands of first graders in Maine in a big way. Dan, what is the mission of Dirigo Reads?
Well, the mission of Dirigo Reads is I guess there's a couple of missions. One is to help foster a love for reading to help improve literacy rates throughout the state of Maine. And to do that, starting at a very young age helps. And Dirigo Reads tactically does that by providing books to first graders every month of the school year to take home and keep forever throughout the school year. So the mission in a more finite sense is to provide a book to every first grader in Maine public schools for every month of the school year by 2025.
That's got to be so exciting for these first graders to know that every month they're going to get this new book. They can take it home. They can share it with their parents, share it with their siblings. It's such a cool idea. Where did that idea come from?
Well, they came from a few different angles. Part of it is exactly what you just said about how exciting it is for first graders to get a new book. I think most of us remember, if your school participated in these scholastic book orders, when that box arrived, it was like Christmas morning every month.
Yeah.
And certain kids got the books and certain kids didn't. And there might have been 1,000 reasons behind why that happened that way. But one of those reasons is partially or possibly because some families don't have the luxury of buying books every month. They're expensive, especially right now as we're looking at fuel prices being higher than they've ever been. Food prices are higher as a result. Families have to make really difficult choices about what is sensible and what isn't. And books can be seen as, in some cases, a luxury item because of that. And we do have access to books as kids and adults through our excellent library system. But there's something special about bringing a book home and falling in love with it and reading it over and over and over again, especially at that age. My kids, while they like to read new books, they also kind of go back to the favorites that they have. My youngest will sleep with one book in particular right now because she loves it so much. And in a long way around the barn, that's sort of where the idea came from, is the excitement around getting books and also understanding that we have work to do as a state and probably as a country. We just haven't done the research in terms of getting literacy rates improved. And with a better ability to read at a young age, the possibilities are endless, whether it's a STEM education, whether it's creativity, whether it's working in trades. That all starts with a good foundation of reading, and that's where this all came from.
So how long has Dirigo Reads been in existence?
Dirigo Reads started in the fall of 2019, and it started with 6 communities, and we decided to try it as a pilot program to see if it even worked, and if it did work, what mistakes we might make and what things we would succeed at.
Right.
And between myself and Karen Cashman, the other co-founder, we learned a lot in that first year. But the idea was to start small so we could kind of move forward. We had no idea that we would be facing a global pandemic as one of the struggles to try to tackle with this program. But I'm happy to say that thanks to a lot of help from partners and sponsors along the way and some very flexible teachers and principals and superintendents at school districts around the state, we grew to the point of just over 50 schools for this school year ending this month.
So I heard you were talking about everyone who's helped you out. Did I hear that you got some help from a certain mouse just recently?
We did. That big-eared rodent in Florida helped us out. Disney Books made a big donation to the program this year. They actually made the donation several months ago, but it was a book that was slotted for June delivery. And Disney Books donated all of the books to be used for June for Dirigo Reads.
Wow.
And it's an incredibly generous donation for them to do. And because everything takes a village, normally when we ship out books, they're direct shipped to schools from the book distributor.
Right.
In this case, all of the Disney books ended up in my garage. So we had to have some help packing those, shipping those, labeling those, and making sure we had the right counts in every box and double checking. So we got some help from Kohl's, who has a community volunteer program, and they not only provide some volunteers for worthy projects, but they also make a donation as a result. So Disney not only gave us some cost relief, but Kohl's added to our donations for the year and the help to make it actually happen, which was incredibly generous.
That's awesome. You must run on corporate sponsors. I mean, this has got to be a huge financial undertaking.
It is, and I would be lying if I didn't say it was a bit scary. We set this program up with the intent of not having to go to people and ask for individual donations, because that is a full-time job.
Right.
There are organizations smaller than this one that rely on individual donations that employ somebody full-time just to do that. Both Karen and I work full-time doing other things. This is a volunteer passion project for us, so that it wasn't in the cards to be able to sustain it that way. The way we are sustaining it is to be able to enlist corporate partners and sponsors to pull it all together. And we've been incredibly lucky so far. Machias Savings Bank is the Dirigo Star founding partner. That means they've given the most money to provide the most resources to get the most books in the most hands of first graders throughout the state. We've also worked with Bangor Savings Bank, Sutherland Weston, Northern Light Health, Changing Seasons Federal Credit Union, Woodlands Senior Living, PCHC, Cross Insurance, Hannaford, The First. I mean, the amount of businesses that have come together is heartwarming, and I was saying it was surprising, but it's really not, because Maine is full of businesses that want to pull together and help make a difference, and there isn't one business that has looked at us and said, really, why do first graders need books? Like, everybody sort of understands it
right
as soon as we start talking about it, and they want to be involved and help.
Well, fostering literacy at a young age helps to ensure a workforce in the future, right? Kids who will be successful when they become adults.
Exactly. One of the problems with literacy rates is that kids who aren't moving forward are sometimes kids who don't enjoy reading. And that's nobody's fault necessarily. But the more we can do to provide access to books that they would enjoy, the better off it will be for everybody. So the books that are selected by Dirigo Reads each year are done so by a sort of a advisory council of teachers past and present, administrators past and present, and literacy specialists. And it becomes a well-rounded list of books that are both fiction and nonfiction. Some of them are about things you might find in nature, and some of them are things like Mickey Mouse or Pete the Cat or other very familiar characters that both parents and kids would know. And some are titles that might be new to everybody that aren't quite as familiar with either age group. So we try really hard to make it well-rounded and obviously age-appropriate so that no child is feeling like they are way behind the curve or that the book is too easy for them. So we've gotten a lot of help from a lot of educators to help us through that process.
That's awesome. Now, did you say the school year that's wrapping up now you had 50 schools?
51. I actually thought it was 50. And then one of the communities that was on board was Auburn, and they had one more school than I thought. So obviously my math skills could be improved. But it's 51 schools for this school year.
Okay. And you're adding more schools for the next school year, right?
We are. In order to hit every public school in the state by 2025, we got to keep growing. And this year, we're happy to announce that we are adding 36 new schools for the next school year. Last year, or this current school year, we hit a benchmark where we were able to add Auburn, as I mentioned, and Bangor, which were both really big deals for us because we saw those as being a little bit further down the line. But because of the partner support and sponsor support, we were able to add those earlier. So this year, among the 36 schools, we are adding Augusta and Portland, which are also really big deals for us.
Yeah.
So we are hitting some of the largest cities in the state now. And as of this coming school year, starting in September of 2022, we're also hitting all 16 counties. Portland, we are adding, as I mentioned, in Cumberland County. We're adding Old Orchard Beach in York County. And the only other county we weren't in was Oxford, and we're adding Peru. So now we're in all 16 counties. And from here, it's a little bit daunting to see how many schools we have left, but we're on a good path.
Yeah, oh, for sure. When you think 36 schools and think, oh, well, that's not that many. But when you're talking Portland and Augusta, you're talking a lot of students.
Yeah, so the amount of students that we're adding this year at the Dirigo Reads is about 1,200. So this past school year, we were reaching, I believe it was about 1,600 students every month. So we're almost doubling the size of the program again. That's about 75% bigger this coming school year. And when you figure that each of those kids are going to be getting a book every month, we're talking about roughly 28,000 books that will be given out next year to first graders in Maine, spread out throughout all 16 counties.
That's amazing. How can people learn more? If there's a school administrator out there saying, hey, next time around, I want my school included, how do they get more information about Dirigo Reads?
Sure. All of the information can be found on our website, which is dirigoreads.org. I will say that we have had more requests than we are able to fulfill in terms of being added to the program.
Okay.
But I will also say that our goal remains to hit every first grade classroom in the state, so in public schools. So while we might not get to the community in that coming school year, we keep everybody's entries on file, and of course we have a list of all of the schools in the state. So the goal is to hit every single one of them. And I've mentioned before the pandemic slowed us down a little bit. If we don't hit the goal by 2025, it's not like we're just going to close up shop. We're going to keep going until we hit the goal and then try to make it sustainable so that it stays around for years, decades, generations, who knows.
Awesome.
We see the value in this, and we certainly hope that other people do as well.
Awesome. Dan, that's what I had. Did we miss anything?
I would just add that if anybody wants to partner with the program, adding about 1,200 new students requires money. And so that means we need more partners and sponsors. Everybody who's been on board with this finds it to be a worthwhile effort. So I would like to think that there's always room for more. So if anybody is interested, information about sponsoring or partnering with Dirigo Reads is also on our website at dirigoreads.org.
Find more information at dirigoreads.org. Next, motorcycles are everywhere right now, so we wanted to offer a reminder about staying safe. Here's an interview I did with Lauren Stewart of the Maine Bureau of Highway Safety. So everywhere I go right now, Lauren, I'm seeing motorcycles on the roads. I'm married to a motorcyclist, so I know how excited they are. But we want to talk about motorcycle safety. And I think the first thing we need to say is proper gear is crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that's one of the things that we talk about in our PSAs and in our press releases when we put them out, is it is crucial for motorcyclists to take every precaution that they possibly can to keep themselves safe on the roadway. And that involves all of the protective gear that they can get their hands on, including DOT-compliant helmets, good goggles, leather chaps, leather jackets, boots. They also make some non-leather motorcycle riding gear, which I understand is pretty good too. So we just like to see people take all the precautions that they can.
Every year I'll see someone on the back of a motorcycle and they're wearing, shorts and flip-flops, and it just makes me cringe to think of what would happen to them if they got in a crash.
Yeah, it certainly is not safe to do that. We don't want to see any passenger or a rider, for that matter, on that motorcycle out with all the vehicles on the roadway or the debris that maybe just hasn't been cleaned up yet from spring. And, it's just not good advice to not have that protective gear on.
Right. Motorcyclists want to make sure that they use their turn signals and use them early to give motorists a heads up that they're going to turn.
Yep, and we need those motorists to be paying attention to that as well. So motorcycles, as you know, are a little bit smaller vehicles. They're harder to see sometimes, even with that one headlight that sort of stays on all day and all night. They still are hard to see. The motor vehicle operators have not been used to seeing them all winter. So we ask the motor vehicle operators to take that second look, especially when turning left, so that you don't pull out in front of that motorcyclist, because they may not have time to stop if they think that you've seen them.
It is very easy especially when you haven't been looking all winter, to be at an intersection and look before pulling out, and you look again and you're looking for cars, and to miss the fact that there's a motorcycle there.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we say is take a second to take that second look and just make sure there's nobody coming, because that motorcyclist is not necessarily going to be able to safely avoid you pulling out in front of them.
Right. And motorcyclists should always make sure that drivers can see them. So they should be, the headlight on and maybe wearing something a little bright so that they're easier to see.
Yeah, we ask that they wear brightly colored clothing, reflective tape, again, anything that they can do to make themselves more visible to the motor vehicle operator, especially with the distraction that we're seeing out on the highway. So if that person driving the car is distracted by something else, the chances of them seeing that motorcyclist is even slimmer.
Right. And where the motorcycle rides is important too. I mean, you don't want to be riding in a car's blind spot or too close to the center line.
Right. Want to be in the middle of the lane, which, gives you the most space on either side of that lane to maneuver if you need to, but it also makes you more visible to the motor vehicle operator.
Back to the cars for a second. One of my husband's pet peeves riding his motorcycle is when somebody rides too close to the back of the motorcycle. You want to make sure you give plenty of space there.
plenty of space, because if that motorcycle goes down for any reason whatsoever, you need to be able to stop your car in time to not cause additional damage. So, 3, 4, even more seconds distance between you and the motorcycle in front of you is great advice.
It's important to remember that, if you bump the back of the car in front of you, it's probably not going to be a big deal, but you can just bump the back of a bike and there's nothing there. I mean, that rider, chances are, is going to go off the bike.
Absolutely. Yep. So leave that distance, pay attention to what's going on in front of you. If you're approaching a stoplight, slow down in case that light turns yellow, that you have plenty of time to stop in case the motorcycle in front of you stops.
Motorcyclists are required to follow the same traffic laws. Sometimes they don't seem like they think that they are, but they have to follow the same traffic laws, correct?
Everybody sharing the road has to follow the traffic laws, whether you're on a bicycle or whether you're on a motorcycle. So yeah, we share the road and we all follow the rules of the road.
Okay. And for both cars and motorcycles, you never want to drink and drive or drive when you're distracted.
Absolutely not. Find a designated driver, stay put, wait till you're sober, no drinking, no driving, whether you're operating a motorcycle or a motor vehicle.
Can I just add, from the point of view of someone who loves someone who's on a motorcycle, people, and this is off the road kind of, but people mowing their lawns want to make sure they're not throwing that grass out into the roadway. That can be really dangerous for motorcycles.
Absolutely. Grass, leaves, anything, if you push it out into the roadway, then you're creating a hazard for motorcyclists as well as bicyclists. And today we're talking about motorcyclists, and those wet leaves or those grass clippings are extremely dangerous to motorcyclists.
Would you recommend for motorcyclists that they maybe take an updated safety course every once in a while just to sharpen their skills?
I think that's a great idea, and we do encourage them to do that. We also encourage people to make sure that they've chosen a motorcycle that's appropriate for their skill level. So you don't want to buy something that's too big for you to handle or something that's too fast for you to handle based on your skill level. So make sure that you purchase the right bike for your skill and make sure that you take those updated rider courses. There's no harm in taking additional skills courses to make sure that you're a better rider.
Okay. And it's important to do like a quick walk around, a quick safety check of the bike before you head out, just to avoid any problems on the trip.
Absolutely. Check those tires just like you would with your car before you go out. You're going to walk around your car, make sure your tires are all good. And same thing with a motorcycle.
Okay. Wow. I think that's what I had. Did we miss anything, Lauren? Is there anything you wanted to add?
I will mention to you that we've already had 3 motorcycle fatalities already this May, and that is tragic. So we really want people to pay attention and be safe and make sure that they're operating their motorcycles safely.
It's important to remember, look twice, save a life. I'm Cindy Campbell. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay healthy.
Join us again next weekend for Maine Concerns with your Town Square Media News team.